Nigeria is the most populous and the most popular country in Africa. Back then, Nigeria, she was called the giant of Africa. And till date, they still pride themselves as the giant of Africa. Now, who are the Nigerians and who are not the Nigerians? The Nigerians are the politicians and certain groups of people who are not politicians, who are not government appointees. Some of them are political thugs. Some of them, they are the great-grandchildren of those criminal elements in the country. They're only waiting for their own position, opportunity to get there. I call those ones typical Nigerians. And we have the exceptional people, unfortunately, trapped in that contraption called nigger area. A lot of people have been asking for a break. But then, let us go through this article and see what is going to happen if Biafrans leave Nigeria. And like I said, Nigeria is the most popular country in Africa. She is the most blessed country in Africa with the largest population in the continent. You see, we have a lot of resources, human resources, but unfortunately, these human resources in the north, it is useless, as 90 or let's say 80% of them, they are either terrorists, cattle herdsmen, and Majiris. So when you talk about human resources in that north, that's zero. The other resources we have is crude oil, gold, and many other things. Just name them. A lot of them situated in all of the states, towns, and villages. The possible reason how our common name Giant of Africa was coined from our early years started when there was unification of the southern and northern Nigeria on the 1st of January 1914. And that brought the first death to what we know as Nigeria, the amalgamation of the North and the South by the criminal monarchy, the British monarchy, all for their own interest. Well, she eventually gained her independence from the British criminal monarchy on 1st of October 1960, from when she was declared and recognized. The three major tribes in this West African country are the Igbos, Yorubas, and the Hausas. The Hausas are majorly found in the northern part of Nigeria, not until the Fulanis invaded them and took over. The Igbos are in the eastern part of Nigeria and the south, where the Yoruba people occupy. The geographical distribution already exposes the differences in these tribes. These tribes are nations. Now, these tribes were brought together forcefully by amalgamation. How? Let us look at the food. The food eaten in the north is not the same in the south. They don't eat the same. The south eat food that are similar. Now, after independence, war broke out 6 years later. The war which later saw the Igbos asking for the independence that they never got. Eventually, they will. Yes, they will. Biafra must come. Oil was first discovered in Biafra State in a small community known as Oloibiri around 1956. This was a discovery that plunged Nigeria into limelight as a petrol state, crude oil country. Ever since this period, oil has continued to be sucked, and it has been driving the force of the Nigerian economy. Just imagine, drilled June 1956 at 12:00. Oil was drilled at Oloibiri. 1956 till date, oil is still being drilled in Nigeria, and it is not empty. In fact, recently, they found oil in the north of Nigeria. Although Oloibiri has become obsolete today, other oil wells have been discovered across the east, south, and some western states in the country. Ondo State has that. So it is no news that trading palm produce has been a dominant feature in the economy of the Easterners until oil was discovered. According to an economy review, oil remains a sector on which Nigerian economy is heavily dependent. It actually accounts for over 95% of export earnings and about 40% of the government revenue. This was a review report from International Monetary Fund back in 2018. From the calculation of the internally generated revenue, IGR, Lagos, a state in the West, generated 34% of the revenue. Imagine, Lagos State only That's why Lagos State is called the center of excellence. Lagos State only generated that amount of money, and that's a lot. That's to tell you that oil is not the only thing that can get a nation working. There is no crude oil in some other countries, but they are able to function properly. Not to talk of the one that has crude oil. Just imagine how they would have been better for themselves. This followed by the South-South region contributing 23% to the revenue. Can you see the difference? 34% generated by only Lagos State. Only Lagos State. And I'm not talking of the South-South generating 23% of the revenue. That's where they have the oil. Southwest contribute about 14%, Northwest 11%, North Central 7%, Southeast 7%, Northeast 4%. Now this shows the states, the country, the region that are viable and what is not viable. To make this revenue generation distribution more understandable, I am going to kind of unofficially group all the 7 revenue generating regions into 3 main tribes in the country: the East, the West, and the North. For clarity purposes, the South-South and the East will be regarding them as one, although they say that they do not want to be one, that they want to stand by themselves, they want to create a nation for themselves if need be. And the Igbos that dominate the southeast of Nigeria can stay by themselves. I think they have 6 to 5 states. The southeast have 5 states. But I'm going to put them together as one. This is because the Biafrans are already claiming the South-South to be part of the state, or telling the South-South that we are brothers and sisters, even though the South-South say no. Doesn't matter, we want to be by ourselves. It's not a crime anyway, but some South-Southerners are not willing to be part of them. This will be a bridge the 2 regions will cross when they get there. Now, all Southwest regions are definitely going with the West. From the adjusted IGR calculations, we have the old West contributing 48%. That's it. The West of Nigeria, which is the Yorubas, they contribute 48% to the revenue. That's to tell you that there is a lot that is going to happen if Nigeria breaks apart. Now, there might be a little bit of argument. People might say, well, the Southeasterners are part of the people generating the West, and they generating all of this revenue in the West. Well, that's because the West is good for business. That's just what it is. Because there's nothing stopping the business from being done in the East. The West is good for business. The East contributes 30% and the North contributes 22%. Just imagine what I'm saying. The North is not viable. This practically means that the East can survive on the internally generated revenue. 30% is good, not including the oil revenue they will be getting. So they can survive. The West will survive. The North, well, they found crude oil, so they should move on. Now, Lagos State generates 382.18 billion as at 2018. And River States, Ogun, Delta, I'm not going to go through all of them anyway. If Biafra eventually leaves, the West will be motivationally moved to declare the Oduduwa State or Yoruba State or whatever name. Or Lagos State might decide to stand by themselves, leaving the North at the mercy of its 22% internally generated revenue, which is going to drop as a result of banditry, aggressiveness, war, religious anarchy here and there, and terrorism. The revenue definitely will not cater for the people in the North. The West and the East are at the best advantage because of their seaports, which will greatly influence exportation and importation of goods, a possible good drive for their economies. The North will remain landlocked and will definitely need to adjust and depend on other countries on its importation and exportation. The East hold a vital position in the bond holding Nigeria together. If they leave, the country will definitely, like I said, some part will collapse. The North will collapse. So what's your opinion as regards all this? Please do drop it in the comment section below. A lot of people have argued and said, oh, Igbo land is landlocked. Doesn't matter. As long as they have their own brothers and sisters all around them, south, and all of them, there's nothing called landlocked anymore. There's nothing like that. So the North will be at the mercy of hunger if Nigeria breaks apart.